All right, welcome. We are gonna do a little tutorial on Adobe Premiere Pro. This will help you with sort of identifying, okay, well, how the heck do I even go about, making an animatic, right? But this is also going to help you just in general, because we're going to be going over some basics, so you'll end up being able to to do not only an animatic, but just video editing in general on an industry standard software. So let's get into that. First and foremost, you'll probably open up with this window as well. So let's make a new project. We'll press new project, and once that populates, I'm actually going to put it over here. New project. And let's just call this Demo 119, and just put that there for now. That's a 1-1, not a 119. And always want to actually populate your, it looks like I lucked out, went right to 119 lecture videos, but you always want to make sure that you populate your assets alongside your video with regard to the video editing, not just the video, right? The video editing, which would be Adobe Premiere Pro project file, right? So make sure that that happens. Your settings or render should be this as well. This is fine. Feel free to mess around with any of the advanced settings if you are privy to any of those, but we're not going to get too far deep into that. This is good. That's fine. Alright, so press OK, and this is what's going to happen. I will actually get this screen here to populate. Note that the 2021 version, normally I'm using at least 2022, being that's 2023 right now. But there really isn't too much difference, so don't get scared of that. A couple of things. So there are various, and we're going to start off with kind of going over, first and foremost, some of the panels. But in order to kind of get started on that, I want to go over workspace types. So we have assembly, learning, color, effects, editing, audio, graphics, captions, etc. Right? All that stuff might be extra, right? But for the most part, workspace is pretty much around here. So editing is a good one to start with. I personally enjoy effects, so I'll switch that to that view actually. This way I have all of what editing offers, but with the addition of an effects panel, so that I can then go in, find video transitions, video effects, and this is all stuff that I'd like you to mess around with. Obviously you don't have to do a ton of effects for your actual animatic, but transitions and where you cut will be important. So we're going to go over how to cut, how to transition, and perhaps how to do at least one or two effects, right? Because it is good to use them, and you may want to use them instead of using a standard video transition, right? Personally, I like to kind of customize my own video transitions using opacity and the like, just so I can really get the timing right, and perhaps sometimes I want it to do something a little bit different. Just gives you a little bit more control. And that's just a preference, right? Feel free to indeed use some of these. Somebody pointed out earlier in another class section that what the heck is this obsolete folder? This obsolete folder, well, it's exactly that. It's a bunch of obsolete effects. I believe there's one in video transitions as well. But let me tell you, it is fun to play with. So have at it. There's a lot of obsolete stuff that is definitely fun to adjust and play with. Don't be afraid to touch those. Now, this is synonymous with, or rather is similar to the term deprecated in, or soon to be deprecated, that Unity or another program might use, right? With that out of the way, effects for workspace. this is where you can adjust your effects. This is where we're going to drop media. This is our timeline and where our new sequences will be dropped and ultimately edited. This is the preview of said sequences, you have many sort of adjustments that you can make in here too, just to make it a little bit more friendly on your computer in case you're on a laptop, or perhaps you just don't have the best GPU at the moment. You can adjust certain preview settings to optimize at least the editing workflow, right? So import media, let's do that. I enjoy simply finding stuff, right, in here, in my documents folder, and just kind of using whatever I can for these sort of demos. We're going to pretend that, I might have some stuff in here, yes I do. We're going to pretend that, that I'm doing an animatic, right, essentially. We'll just put some images together. I might put, something else in there. Maybe not, nothing too crazy. Let's see what we have here. We have this as a ping, this as a ping, that's a ping, that's a ping. Yeah, that's fine. This rocket ship could be fun to kind of play with. Let's do that. So what you'll do is you'll actually drop this inside of import media, and that will populate. Now, there are some instances where, especially in the 2022 and 23 version, where you start out, before you even make anything, it says, oh, you want to import media? Just do a new project. Don't worry about that, and then import later, right? That's fine. But do be aware that it is beneficial and best practice to have your video files or image files in the same folder as your actual Adobe Premiere Pro project. I'm not doing that at the moment. I'm going to be using something called a bin to kind of help us out with that. We're going to make a couple of bins actually. One, and I went down here to new bin. It's a little tiny folder. New bin will just kind of make a bin and put it in what we might call a directory of sorts, right? Wherever that project is, this will act as a sort of directory that it can then take files from, just like a website. So let's make a video bin. Then we'll click this again, and we'll make an image bin. Because this is a video, it will go into video. Now, what else can we use? Let's get a couple others in here, and we'll go from there. Okay. Cat paws. That could be nice. Perhaps a dance with the cat. These are just some drawings from my comic. I think those will be nice for my holo comic. They are PNGs though, so I might have to blow them up or make them larger or adjust accordingly. PNGs are larger files because of the alpha channel, just be aware of that, but they are fun to use. Let's see if we can get some other stuff here. Perhaps an image to kind of act as a sort of backdrop for everything. That could be a wise decision. What is Bunbug doing in here? Oh, this is a drawing I did a while back. Let's see if we can get some other stuff. Okay. And just find some images on your computer. I'm actually going to do astronaut. Interesting. Don't want that. Let's go ahead and Wondering if I have something just off the cuff here. Could just put this in for another video. Let's do that. It should be good enough for now. Put that in our video bin, put this in the image bin. And now we'll just begin. So we have two bins, video and image. This is our media browser panel. I can go into the video. And let's just start off with something like this. We'll just plop this video in there. Already kind of has sound and all that. I'll actually turn my sound down slightly. This is just a collection of work I did in like 2021, basically. Nothing too crazy. And then let me just go over some of the features here. So now that this has been dragged onto my timeline, notice that it's kind of created another file. This file is just so that it can communicate with certain source. Well, obviously this is the true source, right? It basically makes a new kind of source file in some sense, so that it can then be edited or what have you. That's what happened. So now that we have that in there, we can then just cut it up or do whatever we want, right? Notice up here when I selected this, right? Notice up here in the effect controls that I now have all this new stuff. I have volume, I have motion. Well, what the heck is that all about, right? So one way to kind of just address this is to just go over some of the simple concepts of positioning. Because a lot of you, especially if you're animatic or what have you, will have to kind of pan across the image, right? And position is going to help you do that. Perhaps you want to zoom, right? So then scale would actually help you do that for zooming. And maybe you want to make your own transitions. So perhaps we use opacity as well. What did I just do? I just turned on all of the keys. Note here that I now have some keys. Just like in Adobe Animate, or even Photoshop for that matter, we deal with keys, right? For when something might occur, etc. When something should start and stop. That something being an animation. So in this way, let's first go over position. And then we'll work our way down opacity. Then I will show you, and when we get to opacity, I'll show you how to kind of manually just make a simple fade in or fade out, right? Very easy stuff. I'm sure that you can kind of know how to do it intuitively, honestly. After which, I'm going to show you some of the sort of preset video transitions. How could we use those? And then digging in deeper, I'll make some cuts with the cut tool here, the razor tool. Perhaps I will also utilize some of the track select, but we don't need to actually select that. We can just go like this and it'll populate that little red tool comes out of nowhere, right? And makes things happen. So we can kind of shift back and forth from certain things. It's essentially the same as that, right? Where this is actually kind of moving it, though, versus actually kind of getting rid of it, which would be using this. This would actually start it at a certain spot rather than moving the whole selection. So just be aware of that. It's the only difference there between that and the red sort of tool that populates here, which is the drag edge to trim selection. So trim edge selection, I guess you could do it for short. You can always use Alt and Control for more options. And as you can see, we have we have some other options there. So if you use Control, you'll have a sort of way of of manipulating certain things. If you use Alt and you're in that tool here, use Alt, now it's just going to grab the audio and the visual. It kind of does that automatically though, so not the biggest deal. Let's select that again though and get back to what we were doing. So for the position portion, I've already hit the stopwatch. These stopwatches, these toggle animation utilities, that's what's going to give you the power to start animating, right? You need that to be on. And you want to start it wherever you want it to start. In this case, right dead center. But then I want to kind of gradually move it over, with a period of over a period of 3 seconds, right? So I'll go to the 3-second mark, and then I'll just kind of ease it over, and I'll try to get that halfway spot to the best of my ability. Notice that it then created a new and fresh little key there for us. So that's that. Now let's say we want to actually just go a little bit further. Maybe we want to actually come back now, right? We can do that. So was this 2 minutes or 2 seconds? Hold on. I think it was, yeah, that's too long. Let's bring this shift over to here. We'll bring it to like that point there. And we'll just have it kind of go like this and shift over a little bit. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll actually shift it back, right? That could be nice. So let's do that, just so you get an idea of how this all works. You can also do a Control-C and Control-V. That way we can get it right back to where we want it, and everybody's happy. Now there are certain instances where you may want to kind of zoom in, and that's totally valid. I would, now that we've already kind of hit the spot with a little key there, we've already hit this little watch there. Notice that when you try to turn it off, it will actually delete the existing frames. Yeah, we don't want that. So right when it gets back to normal, I'm actually going to then zoom in a little bit, not too much, just to get a better view of all that. And then I'll view back out once, and I'll do a Control-C on my keyboard. Once I position my key indicator, that's what this blue line thing is. Position that where I want. I'll just get it to go right back. Control-V, pop that right back to where it was, just to give it some action, right? Now, what if I want to have a little bit of a transition inwards? So if that's the case, we've already made a sort of key here in our effect control panel. But maybe for 1 or 2 seconds, we just kind of ease into that 100% mark, right? So let's go back to 0 and go black. And it was very subtle, but I did do a sort of little transition there, right? So let's go back and press play. It looks like it's starting at 100, so it looks like I just swapped them by accident. That's what happens when you work in close proximity. There you go. Alright, now let's press play and see how it goes. Not too bad. This is pretty good. Now, one thing that's bothering me is, well, there's nothing really behind here, right? So how can we fix that? One thing we could do is maybe go into our little bins, and I'll just go to Project. Maybe we just select an image like the bun bug here. And instead of putting bun bug on top, let's put bun bug below. Note that a lot of this works just like Photoshop or Animate, where you have these sort of layers. You have V3, V2, V1, audio 1, audio 2, audio 3. You can have a pretty much unlimited amount. Whatever your computer or processing power is, you can pretty much go for it, right? So these are all movable. You can move these below or above each other. All depends on what you need for your work, right? Keep that in mind. So in this case, I want that creepy drawing I did. I'm going to actually now go to my scale here, and I'm not going to make any keys. I just want to do a nice typical scale. I'll scale it all the way down, maybe to here. And keep in mind, you can actually just go right in here, and if you have the right, like if I'm selecting this, if I'm on position, I don't have to use these. I can actually just grab it and move it, right? So if you wanted to be more precise, you could theoretically do that. Just so you know. Very good. Yeah, so that'll be just there. I'll probably go into it in such a way that it also fades in. And because of that, I do have to use the stopwatch. Press that on, go down to 0, and maybe go to, looks like a 2 there, that's good. It should be good, let's see. So you can really kind of adjust however you need it to be. I don't mind adjusting it to there, and then notice that this is moving with this timeline indicator, or this key indicator, right? I move this, and the effect control indicator also moves. So it's kind of convenient like that. And maybe we move it down a little bit. I mean, we don't need it right there. Then we move that to 100. Now the problem here is I don't like the color here. The color is not matching with anything that we're doing. So let's change that. Let's just give it some character. How could we go about that? Well, and you can use this these effects within your animatic as well if you'd like, right? So don't be afraid to use them. One thing to do is to, well, first and foremost, there's so many options, but all I want to do is something a little bit simple and basic, which is color correction, color balance, or tint. I want to do a tint. Color balance would be good too, but let's just start with tint. So whenever you're using an effect, you're just going to grab it and drag it to either this, right? Well, I guess this, because that's the image. Or you can just pop it right in the effect control panel and it'll populate. And then you can start to edit the tint. And you can map the black or the white, and also adjust how much is being tinted, right? So let's first map out the black. Let's go ahead and do a sort of nice deep purple there. And for the lighter amount, let's do something more like this. Maybe it needs to be a bit bolder, right? There we go, that's nice. And you can then adjust the tint accordingly, and that should work. So simultaneously we have opacity going on, so it'll kind of fade right into view. I wouldn't mind making that a little bit more chill there. There we go. Nice, perfect. Yeah, and then that'll sort of, I guess it could extend until it actually, until we actually bounce back to that other, boop, right there, right? Right there, okay. So we'll extend that out, perfect. Always save your work. Save, save, save. So we've gone over the video layers, the audio layers. We've gone over some of the basics of actually fading in or out of something, or repositioning, animating position, but also zooming into right here. Zooming out and in, I guess, which is definitely useful, especially for the animatic and creating those kind of cut scenes. Remember the animatic and the intro / cut scene, which would be your last kind of project 2 endeavor. The animatic is just your storyboard animated, essentially, right? You're getting the feel of your soon to be finished cutscene or intro scene. So keep that in mind. It's supposed to be like a video mood board of sorts, but without all the color. It doesn't have to have color, right? You're feeling out the transitions, you're feeling out the cuts, the movement, right? That's the important part to take away. That's what animatics are all about. Keep that in mind. Now, moving ahead here, we're good with that. And how would I make a cut? Let's say I want to just kind of cut right here and then resume later. You can use the razor tool. So we'll actually make a little cut. There you are. Also, it simultaneously will cut that audio, so that's convenient. Then you grab it, maybe move it over a little bit, and perhaps we just randomly drop in an image of my character and her strange cat weasel. With that cat, we are going to actually scale it down a little bit, maybe to there. And we'll also ease in, so I'll just do a little opacity there at 0. And we'll actually bring that back a tad. And once we get to here, I'll actually do that. There we are. So that's just to show you, how we might make a cut, right? Strange cut, too. But that's just an essential tool for you to utilize. What if I want to make a sort of transition, but I don't want to do all the keys? Well, you can actually just do a sort of simple dip to black or film dissolve, whatever it is you wish. I'm going to do that here for that. And if you wanted to zoom in a little further, feel free to hold down Alt and use your mouse wheel to zoom in on the timeline a bit more. Press play, and there you are. It dipped to black. So we didn't have to do all those keyings. Alright, let's pretend that I have successfully edited the video and it is complete. Also, this also navigates across the timeline if you wanted to, just real briefly. So if you wanted to kind of go from left to right along the timeline, you can do that. Zooming back out, holding down Alt using the mouse wheel, I can do that. I can zoom that. You can zoom it out. Going on words. Let's go ahead and learn how to export. So there are multiple ways to do this. One way is to simply go to File, and first off, save your work. So saved, all right. And then we would go down to Export, and you can simply say Export Media. That is one way to do it. The other way to do it would be to send to a media encoder. I don't think that's going to be necessary for us for this class. So we'll actually just stick with exporting it to media, and we should get a dialog box that pops up at some point. Unless I didn't actually click on it. That's possible. I believe I did. Interesting. Export media. not seeing the media window. Alright, so part of the problem was that I just did not have my sequences actually selected. Normally not too much of an issue. That's a strange one. Anyhow, well, let's talk about formatting. So when you do go to do this, you shouldn't have to select these, especially with the new update. So just be aware of that. But if you do, that's okay. Just select, right? You can just kind of drag select all the sequences and then export. But usually you don't have to do that. That's it. We went to File, Export, and this window populated, right? That's the goal. Always kind of preview things. Let's not preview yet, though. Let's get our settings correct. We'll keep that as is. For your animatic, just look at the rubric. It's going to have some format specifics. I'd like it to be around 24 frames per second. You know, and 512 by 512 minimum, right, for your aspect ratio. These are things that you can set up prior, and if you need more help on that, please reach out. I'll keep my stuff as is for now, and we'll just go with that. H264 is the most important part for your submission, so just keep that in mind for format in regards to all video that you're going to be submitting to me. That's pretty good. Let's just go ahead and give a little overview here. Looks like it's fine. I don't have any issues with that. Then you would hit export, and it should just populate as an MP4. And this is what it would be named, right? You can always change that if you want. But yeah, that is the tutorial. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. I am here to help. And with that, I bid you farewell. And lovely seeing you all on the interwebs. Enjoy. Bye-bye.